In this video, you and I are going to talk about that endless debate in the audio technology world that is analog versus digital. It's a kind of topic that can be easily very sensitive, and that could easily start a war between all the comments through the comments. So I would like to advise you to remain kind in the comment section below in case you want to share your experience with all of us with this very sensitive domain. That said, by the way, all kinds of comments are more than welcome. And if you have any specific questions when it comes to analog and digital and everything, please feel free to ask. And what I did, I strongly recommend you to subscribe to this channel for more videos like this one. So sit back, relax, because here we go without any further ado. Greetings everyone, I'm happy to welcome you again to my world. A world that has seen so many changes in my last 25 years as an electronic musician, as a professional one. And I guess you can imagine how many changes there have been. And this is the reason why I would like to share with you guys my personal point of view with a few real world examples and history facts. Back in the early 90s, there was no such thing as digital audio in most home studios. It was all very analog, but the synthesizers were digital, most of them, because we didn't have much money for analog synthesizer that had become vintage and that way very expensive on the second-hand market. You could not get a hold of a 909 for less than 2,000 euros, just to give you an example. What we had was consisting of a few synthesizers, a mixer, a few effect units, the cables, a computer for just generating the MIDI messages between and the interaction between all the synthesizers. We eventually had a sampler, which was not my personal case in the beginning of my career. And yeah, we had 16-channel mixer or something like that. And all of it was sounding, well, not perfect. It was a bit hard to control, but because of the convenience of digital synthesizers and multi-effects and everything, we could actually counterbalance that loss of signal. And we had a lot of signal issues, such as earth-ground hum, if you've ever heard about it. It's the 50 hertz or 100 hertz signal that appears when you have an earthing loop somewhere in your room, and that comes from the power socket. It's really annoying. And the biggest problem we had back then was that it was generated by mixers, by lights, by computer screens, back when they were CRT, if you ever remember what it was. And there were a lot of issues. Plus, all these cables and all these conversions, they were generating a lot of what we call tape hiss, but it was audio hiss. So I like the noise in the background, even with digital synthesizers. But even with those shortcomings, with those setbacks, we could manage to actually get a decent job done, and we could actually record everything on digital audio tape, the DAT, which was actually let's say the precursor of the CDR for producers, if you see what I mean. So it was a very interesting period. But of course, digital synthesizers, a bit cold, a bit annoying. They were always playing the same samples and everything. And some people started, gathering vintage hardware, which they claimed sounded better. I will get back to this later on in this video, because I have a very strong opinion about this. But in the early 2000s, here we are now with computers replacing the mixer, the multi-effects, the compressors, the noise gates, generating next to no noise, getting, through sound cards, audio interfaces, a much better signal in general. And of course, the audio quality went up to the detriment of a few things I would like to enumerate here in this video too. The first one is, of course, we lacked some of the randomness of these early synthesizers. I'm I'm talking here about the Mini Moog, for example, but also the Alpha Junos, or the Juno 60, 106, the Poly 6 by Korg. They were generating a lot of randomness in their waveforms, which was great. And virtual analog was not that great back in the day. We had the likes of the DP8000, but it was still, you know, sounding really digital. A second problem we had with, emulation and everything, and the digital world, is that there was a lack of low end overall. But it was, over the years, compensated by better emulations. We saw that with the Mini V by Arturia, for example, which is, for me, the best example. But then it got absolutely crushed by the very best emulation of the Mini Moog I've seen on computers, which is the one from Native Instruments called Monarch. So that randomness and everything that comes with it, that was cleared. Still, we have a few other issues. We are lacking touch. And now that was compensated with much better MIDI controllers and everything. But in some contexts, like modular synthesizers and everything, you know, there are so many knobs and faders you would like to touch. It's impossible to replicate with the actually MIDI controllers that we use. But for other things, they are very good. But still, in 2020, there are people who only swear by analog. They want to go analog with everything. They want to spend $30,000 or euros on an analog modular synthesizer or several modules linked, patched together. And that's great. Of course, this is a great way to have a monster low end, randomness, and everything in between. It's awesome. And the signal you get has a lot more balls, let's say, but only assuming you have the right conversion to the digital world. Because you cannot forget that this music that you're gonna make with these analog devices, they're gonna sound great when making them, but you will have to convert them to the digital world through your sound card, through a mixer sometimes, through a lot of compressors sometimes, because there is the randomness of that analog hardware. And if you don't actually invest as much money in the outboard gear to transfer this analog hardware in the digital world, you will end up getting a signal that sounds worse than analog emulation on a computer, for example, or, and that's my point here, on a virtual analog device. And this is my opinion. This is my conclusion to this debate. I think we've pretty much climbed all the hurdles of this journey, transferring from analog to digital, especially in the dance music world. We don't have a lot of choice. It's cool to make music from a laptop now. Anyone could make music, cool music with a laptop, and we should take advantage of it. But if you really miss the touch, if you really miss the immediacy of hardware, I strongly recommend something in between, which is virtual analog, especially if you don't have too much money. Well, that's my point of view, of course, and I'm really looking forward to reading yours in the comment section below. And thanks for watching, obviously, and I hope to see you in the next video. And if you would like to keep being informed about the next videos, please hit the subscribe button and the bell next to it. Thanks a lot for watching once again, and have a great day. Bye.